What's up, guys? How you doing? This is Dan here with Cigar Salute. And tonight we're going to be doing something a little different, okay? So, on this channel, those of you who have asked me before have gotten the answer already, but for those who may be wondering but have not asked me this, why do I not smoke and review cigars on the YouTube channel? And, why do I have no problem posting tasting notes on Instagram, but how come I don't smoke cigars in my videos? This question has been asked multiple times over the years, and my answer is this. It's a two-pronged answer. Number one, for practical and logistical reasons, right now I'm set up in the corner of my apartment where I typically smoke, okay? Sitting in my grandfather's old smoking chair, where he spent decades smoking cigars and cigarettes, and he wound up parked here just about the end of every workday, and I find myself doing the same decades later. And there is a window right next to this chair where I have a fan pointed outward, so anytime I smoke in this chair over here, the smoke goes right out through the fan, doesn't stink up the apartment, okay? So to have that fan going while I'm trying to shoot a video would just create a lot of background noise, and it'd be really unpleasant to listen to, and it'd be real unpleasant for me to try and speak over that fan, okay? Number two is the cigar tends to go out as I'm talking, and if I spend too much time keeping the cigar lit and taking draws off the cigar, that disrupts my flow when I'm trying to speak to you guys. So it's distracting from the cigar, and it's distracting from the video, and it's not really adding anything, and I can't get a fair read on the cigar to relay to you guys about how good it is or not if I'm not getting the time and privacy I need to enjoy it. And also too, like cigars are a very personal and therapeutic experience for me, and I believe that unless you are in person with good friends sharing that time, or you're in some kind of like dedicated video chat, like I've seen Zoom herfs where guys are all trying the same cigar and they're all plugged into a video chat, that's different, okay? But having a camera pointed at me while I'm trying to enjoy a cigar after a long day at work, and I'm trying to relax and whatnot, that's, to me, that's counterproductive. But tonight, that's exactly what we're going to be doing, at least a little bit. I'm not going to sit here and have a camera pointed at me the entire time that I am smoking this cigar, but I do want to check in with you guys at various points of this cigar, and let you know my thoughts on it, because I've gotten many emails about this cigar. It is a very polarizing cigar. It is hard to find. It is very expensive. It's an American market cigar, a brand that's been around for a little bit less than 10 years. I believe they were released in 2011 or 12, and that brand is Atabey, okay? Now, I have had my reservations about trying this cigar for quite a while. There's a lot of things that I kind of take issue with that surround this brand, and not so much the tobacco itself. I'm sure it's going to be a great cigar. I'm looking at it right now. The quality of the construction and the roll is excellent. If there was no band on it, aside from the fact that the wrapper leaf looks different than a leaf that would be wrapping a Cuban cigar, like the absence of the stitched style veins and whatnot. The rolling method, which was used on at least the outward appearance, is very much like a Cuban cigar. They went for the triple capped kind of flat head like Cuban cigars have. Very, very smooth leaf, okay? The bunching in the tobacco is much different than something I would see in most Cuban cigars. This almost looks booked rather than entubado style, but I'm not a roller, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know everything about tobacco bunching. It looks like there's several different shades in the colors of the filler leaves that are used to fill this cigar. And if you go on Atabey's website, they claim to have a proprietary mystery blend. And we're going to get into that in a little while. But so tonight we are going to be exploring the Atabey brand a little bit, and we are going to be talking about some of the players behind the brand, and we are going to be obviously reviewing the cigar. And afterwards, I'm going to be giving some of my thoughts on the American market cigar industry, why I don't necessarily keep up with or consistently smoke American market cigars these days, because those of you who have been with me from the beginning of this channel, and those of you especially who have been with me since I got on Instagram in late 2014 with Cigar Salute, you guys know that up until a couple of years ago, that I smoked a fair amount of American market, New World, non-Cuban, whatever you guys want to call them. I smoked a lot of non-Cuban cigars up until about 2.5 years ago, is when I really migrated into Camp Habanos. And while I had been trying to stay on both sides of the fence prior to that and giving them both equal play, it's just that, I followed wherever my palate wanted to go, and I am where I want to be today. But that does not mean that I am completely adverse to smoking other cigars, and I always tell people that they should make their own judgments and not necessarily listen to what other people are saying is better or inferior, that they should be trying everything and making their own conclusions, drawing their own conclusions. Okay, so when we come back, I am going to be lighting up this Atabey Brujos, and I'm going to be sharing my thoughts with you guys. All right? I'll see you guys in a minute. Hey, welcome back, guys. So, before I get this cigar lit up, let me just go over a couple of things, okay? First off, in an effort to do something a little extra different tonight and make things a little more fun for you guys, I am offering to give away 3 of these brand new Cigar Salute t-shirts to the viewers that hit my email with answers to the 3 trivia questions that are going to be displayed in between the upcoming chapters, okay? And I just want to remind you guys that you guys can skip chapters in the video descriptions. On every single video that I have dropped in 2020, there are chapter bookmarks that will take you right to the next chapter or take you to the chapter that you wish to view. All right? So tonight we are going to be smoking the Atabey Brujos, okay? Now, a Brujo is a male witch, all right? And the Atabey Brujos is their take on a Robusto Vitola. It actually basically matches the Cohiba Behique 52 Vitola. This is 4 7/8 by 52 ring gauge. Okay, the Cohiba BHK 52 is 4.75, 4 3/4 by 52 ring gauge. So it's just a hair longer than a Cohiba Behique. And if you're wondering why I'm referencing the Cohiba Behique, the creator and blender behind this brand is an individual named Nelson Alfonso. Now, for those of us who are Habanos enthusiast. This gentleman owns a design firm called Golden Age, which has designed quite a few of Habanos SA's iconic current graphic campaigns. Okay, he was the creator of the design of the Cohiba Bejique logos and various other Habanos SA endeavors, and he also apparently designed the Padron 50th anniversary humidor. Okay, the man's got quite the resume in the graphics department. But as far as cigars go, it's obvious that he designed the artwork on this Atabey to be very, very similar to Cohiba. And when I say Cohiba, I obviously mean Cuban Cohiba. You can see the clean, regal, yet sharp and simple design in the band. You can see that there is a tribal logo that adorns the center of the band. And someone, I forget what article I was reading when I was researching about this brand, someone even pointed out that the name Atabey has the same amount of letters and the same amount of syllables as the word Cohiba. And that is not where the similarities end. The similarities also continue into the very nature of the brand names, okay? For those that don't know, Cohiba is the Taino word for tobaccos. And the Bejique is a Taino priest who would perform a ceremony with the Tainos in which Cohibas were burned. All right. Now, the Tainos offer their prayers to the Bejique, who is the Taino version of a priest. And apparently, the Bejique would offer his prayers to Atabey, who is a Taino female divine figure, okay? Basically the goddess of fertility and the mother of the main god in Taino culture. And I'm going to put that name on screen because I don't want to butcher it, but just to share with you guys the information. Okay, and I mean, anybody who knows the Cuban Cohiba artwork and whatnot and the motif, you guys will see immediately the resemblance, and that they are obviously trying to convey images of the Cuban Cohiba brand. They are trying to command the same prestige, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that the individual who designed the graphics for the current Cohiba brand also had a hand in this, okay? The influence is very obvious. The individuals involved with distributing and marketing these cigars in the U.S., they invoke the name Cohiba quite a bit in their promotional materials as well, okay? And we're going to get into that later and why I took such an interest in giving this cigar a fair shot, okay? But for now, we are going to give this Atabey Brujos a cut, and it's almost a shame to give it a cut. Any cigar, it doesn't have to be something fancy and high-end, but any cigar to me that has beautiful construction like this, I always love to admire it. And I always, if you guys are on my Instagram, and if you're not, please follow me, but any of you guys who are on my Instagram or are members of the Facebook Cigar Club, Cuban Exchange 2.0, and see the photos and the cigar tasting notes that I post there, you guys will notice that I almost never take a photo of a cigar after it's been cut and lit. I always try to take the photo before it's lit, before it's cut, so you guys see the cigar in its purest form, where it's, everything's intact, all the craftsmanship and construction of the cigar is on full display, pristine. I love it, and I love taking photographs of cigars, and I always admire the construction of a cigar, and I always commend quality construction and good wrappers and whatnot. And it's just, cigars are just a beautiful thing to me all around. It goes beyond the flavor of the cigars. They always put me into a state of awe. So we're going to do a straight up double-bladed straight cut on this, and we're going to get it lit, and we're going to see what the fuss is about with Atabey. Okay. Let's see what we got here. I always like to peek inside the head of a cigar on the cap to see if they put that little knot in there like the Cubans do, which did not happen here. Okay, we got a good cut. Now, I dry boxed. The cigar came in cellophane. I dry boxed it for about 36 hours before I lit it. And if you guys happen to have a shop near you that carries these, you'll notice that the cellophane that these come wrapped in, you'll notice that there are two holes punched in the cellophane right by the foot of the cigar, and I'm guessing that's so moisture can escape and enter the filler leaves as they remain in the cellophane, which I think was pretty cool. There was also, I'm not sure if they still produce them, but when these cigars first came out, their packaging was extremely, extremely fancy and high-end for a new brand, and they offered a sampler 5-pack basically, which retailed, I believe, for $100 or better. And it was 5 cigars that all came in these humidified tubes, like some of the special edition Habanos did a while back. What do they call them? Humiditubes, I believe they're called. Extremely gimmicky, but also very cool looking. Okay, but let's see what the draw's like on this. Okay, so we got a wide open draw on this. A cigar this expensive, and by the way, guys, I bought this. I bought 2 of these, and I bought a Byron cigar, which I will be discussing in another episode, which is also produced and distributed, I believe, by the same companies. Byron is another high-end brand that is relatively new. If you see the artwork for Byron, it looks a lot like some of the old-school Cuban lithographs that Ron Baker blessed me with for the history of post-revolution Cuban tobacco video that I dropped earlier this summer. And I want to shout out Ron and all my other loyal viewers while I'm speaking about them. And I want to say thank you again to you guys for always hitting me off with your kind words and your thanks, and also with your ideas and whatnot, because it's your suggestions and your questions that drive the content of this channel. A bunch of you guys have asked about Atabey, and now here I am smoking one. So we're doing this now because the local tobacconist who I usually purchase my cigars from these days, which is Matador Cigars, sent out a newsletter. I think it was last Wednesday or Thursday. I went on Thursday. No, shit. It was Wednesday, I believe, that I went. And they sent out a newsletter saying they were carrying Atabey and Byron cigars. So I stopped in and picked a couple up, knowing that I'd want to review them for the channel. I actually made a little post about these cigars earlier in the year on a Facebook group, and I caught some real hell for that. But I'm very curious now. Without further ado, let's get this Atabey Brujos lit up, all right? So I'm going to be using this a Zippo. Now, before you guys yell at me, yes, there is a butane insert in this, and I wanted to bring it up real quick because for the money, especially if you have an old Zippo laying around, for $15 to get one of these inserts, absolutely worth it. For one, I love the iconic clank that a Zippo makes. It's so utilitarian and basic, yet it works so well. I had purchased a relatively expensive Colibri jet lighter earlier at the beginning of the summer. It's already broken. I'm taking it in for service next week. So that just goes to show sometimes I just can't have nice things. So let's see what we got here. Let's get this thing toasted. The other good thing about Cuban cigars is that we keep them at lower humidity most of the time, and they don't have this much resistance to lighting, because this thing is just, I don't want to say it's flame proof, but it's just, it doesn't want to light, we'll put it that way. I'm having to coax it to get it lit. There we go. Give it a little purge. Needs a little more. A smooth retrohale. All right, that's good. That's tasty. That is tasty. One thing that I always dislike about a lot of American market cigars. Excuse me. By the way, guys, I'm drinking Brugal 1888 with some Pepsi tonight. Okay. Now, before you guys give me any shit about drinking good liquor as a mixer, I don't do straight liquor 99% of the time. It's just how it is. It's just, my palate ain't there. I'm sorry. I've tried. And this is another reason you don't hear me talk about super high-end liquor a lot of times on this channel, because I just don't have the palate for it sometimes. I can taste the flavors in the liquor, but I enjoy drinking it as a pairing with a cigar or anything like that? No, I don't. I do enjoy soda, though, and I do enjoy the extra kick that you get from good liquor, and I can tell when a liquor is bad, even if it's in a mixer. Okay, so let's get back to this thing. Definitely well constructed, and the flavor's very pleasant. Very, very, very unlike a lot of the American market cigars I've smoked. Okay. Now, does this taste like a $30 cigar? No. Very tough for me to say that a cigar that expensive is that easily differentiated, especially so soon in. Okay, so we're gonna take a couple more puffs, and then I'm gonna check back in with you guys after I get about a third of the way into the cigar, because I am not going to sit here with the camera pointed at me the entire time while I'm smoking this thing. Okay, but I will say right off the bat, the retrohale can be done, and that's something I really don't like about a lot of especially Nicaraguan cigars, guys. I find that you try and do a retrohale with it and put the smoke through your nose, you're going to be shooting flames out behind it. Okay, if I can't retrohale a cigar, then I cannot smoke it the way I want to smoke it. Okay, once you get a taste for retrohaling and that becomes a part of your smoking routine, you are not going to feel satisfied smoking a cigar that you cannot pleasantly retrohale. That's just all there is to it. All right. So right off the bat, I noticed there's a smooth retrohale, and the burn is even. The draw is excellent. This is definitely going to be an enjoyable cigar. I could see it already. Okay, so we are going to check back in a few minutes, and I will give you my initial impressions upon the Atabey Brujos. All right, guys? All right, guys, welcome back. So we are just heading into the second third of this Atabey Brujos right now. And as you guys can see, the entire length of the ash has held on the entire time I've been smoking this cigar. Okay, and the cigar has not required any relights, and the burn is perfectly straight. So, just like we would normally expect from an American market cigar of this caliber and this price point, the construction is fantastic. The draw has been nothing but wide open from the start of the cigar to currently, and the flavors have undergone a transformation already. Okay, and we're going to talk about that right now. So when I initially lit the cigar at first light, I really got hit with some strong sweet floral flavors, and I was very pleasantly surprised upon first lighting. And the obvious things that jump out at me as I went through the first third of the cigar, number one, I would venture to say that there is little to no Ligero primings in this blend, just based on the way that it retrohales so smoothly, and also just the lack of spice. Okay, I always have to laugh when a American market cigar producer talks about how quote unquote Cuban-esque their blend is, and the first thing that happens when I light up the cigar is I get blasted with a shitload of spice. Okay, because anybody with a good amount or even shade tree level experience in Habanos knows that there is a huge difference between spice that you would find in Cuban cigars and spice that you find in Nicaraguan cigars. I mean, it's just, you just won't find that type of spice in Cuban blends that tends to be found in spades in Nicaraguan tobacco. Okay. The other thing that jumped out at me here is that within probably about 3/4 of an inch after I started smoking the cigar, less than an inch having been smoked, the flavors went through a pretty big transition, and the sweet floral notes that were so loud and proud, standing front and center in the tasting when I first lit the cigar up, they are all but gone at the moment. And first, I was greeted with a very deep kind of nutty flavor. Okay, and that flavor was just it was extremely potent, very prominent, took front and center of the blend. So that floral sweetness that was there at the beginning is not here right now. And now as I enter the second third of the cigar, there seems to be sort of a baking spice picking up next to this nuttiness. Okay, so let's draw and see what happens. Just a little tiny bit of sweetness in the back there, and primarily we have just mostly a little bit of a deep nutty flavor, maybe like a little bit of pastry kind of flavors, and that little bit of baking spice mixed in. Okay, so definitely not your average American market ultra premium cigar. Okay, because we all know that while the DR remains, I believe, the world's largest cigar producer, we all know that Nicaraguan tobacco in particular has been a huge part of the American market cigar culture and blending over the last 20 years, and that most of the ultra premiums coming out today either utilize Nicaraguan tobacco or they utilize strong Dominican primings. Okay, some brands still use Honduran tobacco, and a lot of it is the legacy Cuban brands that General Cigar owns and Altadis USA owns, which has recently changed ownership, so we'll see what happens with those brands. I'm sure nothing will change. They probably bought that just to keep the ship running as it is now. And even those brands have branched out into Nicaraguan offerings. But while Selected Tobaccos keeps the Atabey blend a trade secret, quote unquote, what we do know about the blend and the leaves used is that it uses an Ecuador wrapper. Okay, so the wrapper's from Ecuador. I would venture to say I've heard Ecuador Habano, but it really looks to me like an Ecuador Connecticut wrapper. It looks like it may have been shade grown just by the lack of veins and the fine and smooth texture of the wrapper. It looks like maybe a shade-grown wrapper. And I have heard mostly Nicaraguan fillers with various different Caribbean leaves thrown in the blend. None of which are Cuban, guys. So whoever is telling you, whatever local tobacconist is telling you that it's really a stealth Cuban cigar, ignore them, please. All right? There is no Cuban tobacco in this cigar. Okay? It's very obvious that they blended this cigar to be like a Cuban cigar, to have similar attributes to a Cuban cigar, but it is not made with Cuban tobacco. Okay, guys? So we are going to check back in a few minutes once we get past this second third, and we are going to discuss my thoughts on the cigar a little bit more. And if you guys care, then check out the next trivia question coming up in between the tasting notes. All right, guys? I'll see you guys in a few minutes. Hey guys, welcome back. So we are entering the last third of this Atabey Brujos, and right now the cigar is reminding me very strongly of a Dominican Davidoff cigar that I smoked about a month and a half ago, getting a very woody flavor that reminded me a lot of what I got with this Davidoff, which I believe was a number 2. It was a Panatella cigar, and it was a good cigar, but for the price point I paid for that Davidoff, I would not buy it again. I'm not a huge Davidoff fan, I gotta be honest. I believe that the juice isn't worth the squeeze with a lot of the American market super high-end, super premium cigars. I believe that there are better values to be had, and for the money, I'd rather that you handed me, two warped cigars, or two, Curivaris or something like that, or Illusiones. I don't smoke a lot of American market cigars anymore, just because my tastes have migrated over to Cuban cigars, but that does not mean I am completely opposed to trying American market cigars that are generating a buzz that sound interesting and innovative and maybe cater to my current tastes. Okay, but getting back to this Atabey Brujos, in regards to how I feel about it, it is definitely a great cigar. Okay, is it a cigar that I would buy again? Probably not, to be honest. For the amount of money that this cigar cost me, band is coming off now, by the way. And before I go off on too much of a tangent, this band is actually produced by Vrijdag Premium Printing out of the Netherlands, which, as we know, produces the Cohiba band for Habanos SA, as well as many of their other brands. The band is extremely well done, and as far as I'm aware, I checked it with a fluorescent blacklight last night. There are no security tells in the Atabey band like there are in the Cohiba band. This is one of the original 5 Vitolas that the Atabey line was blended with. Some new Vitolas that came out, I believe, 2 years ago. They started coming packaged with a secondary band at the foot of the cigar, basically a selected tobaccos authenticity type band. They claim to have placed those bands there after instances of counterfeit Atabeys were discovered. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if there's large enough of a market for these things to make them counterfeited. I think it's really only the hardcore cigar devotees / nerds like ourselves that really even know about this cigar. Okay, so of course I went on a tangent. Let me just say that as far as is it worth the money? How quote unquote Cuban-esque is it really? Is this thing the quote unquote Cuban killer that certain American market cigar entrepreneurs like to promote it as? And the answer is no, on all fronts. Okay, this cigar does not have an aroma when it burns. It does not smell like a Cuban cigar. While it does imitate some qualities that Cuban tobacco demonstrates in the flavor profile, notably the first 3/4 of an inch it was burning and had a very pleasant floral sweetness to it that I love in Havana cigars. Unfortunately, that floral sweetness went away fairly quickly and was replaced by a deep, nutty, and woody flavor, which has carried through the rest of the cigar ever since early on in the first third. Okay, and the last draw, I got flavors of peanuts combined with this kind of woody flavor that I picked up in the Davidoff over the summer. One thing I will give this cigar is that it has stayed smooth on the retrohale through and through. A lot of times, especially American market cigars, the issue I have is that the last third gets overwhelmingly strong to the point where the cigar cannot be comfortably retrohaled and the cigar cannot be enjoyed the way I like to smoke it. If you guys watch me when I smoke, you notice that the majority comes out of my nose and not out of my mouth. Okay, the olfactory, I believe, is where we really, really, really start to taste our cigars. There are people that I come across that don't even know how to retrohale, and I have done my best to teach them, and they come back to me after I try and describe the process and how it's done and what it can bring to the table. They'll come back to me like, holy shit, Dan, I thought I knew how cigars tasted until I started doing this. And it really is that big a deal. So when you take retrohaling off the table, you're taking such a large part of the experience away, to where it's like, I'm not even going to bother with this. What is the point if I can't retrohale? That's the way I look at cigar smoking. So to be able to sit here and retrohale this comfortably, there's a lot to be said for that. And I've seen, guys retrohale Nicaraguan cigars and stuff like that. And, more power to them if they can do that comfortably. But let me just say that I'm not some guy who, just picked up Cuban cigars one day and never, ever smoked my fair share of American market cigars. All right, guys, because I was smoking Nicaraguan cigars for years before I even tried a Habano. And I was a devotee of both camps for several years before I really committed to being on Team Havana, all right? And just because I tend to stay on one side of the fence these days, that doesn't mean that I won't venture over when something interests me. And there are several cigars that caught my attention over the last year and change, 2 years, that warranted me taking a closer look at them. The Warped Don Reynaldo Regalos, excellent cigar made with Nicaraguan and Dominican tobaccos. The Room 101 and Caldwell Hit and Run collaboration, the Corona Gorda Vitola in particular. Those gentlemen did an absolutely incredible job with that cigar, and that is one of the most interesting blends that I have tasted in the last couple of years, Cuban, non-Cuban, or otherwise. Just a very, very well-blended and distinct cigar, okay? Reminded me a little bit of Cuban Quai d'Orsay, actually. The way it had very kind of sweet floral flavors with a little bit of a minerally kind of graphite note mixed in and whatnot. As far as this Atabey goes, the Brujo Vitola, I paid $30 USD for one of these Laguito number 4 size cigars, which in Cuban factories is 4 3/4 by 52. This is 4 7/8 by 52. They're calling it a Robusto. American market cigar companies, every company makes up their own fucking version of the Vitola. It's just the way it is. Fuck, I dropped my cigar. Look at that. We'll be right back. Excuse me. All right, guys, welcome back. So we have just finished our cigar for the evening, the Atabey Brujos, and want to share my final thoughts about this cigar. And I want to talk a little bit about the individuals involved with bringing this cigar to us, the individuals behind the marketing machine that drives this cigar and has given it the notoriety that it has in the American market cigar community today, and has even given it a little bit of mystery and buzz in the Cuban cigar community online. Okay, so the final third of the Atabey Brujos, the burn started to get very hot, but the smoke remained smooth. The cigar developed that nutty flavor, developed more into a deep earthiness, and the cigar didn't have any more notable transitions before I put it out. I basically nubbed the cigar, so it wasn't like I really missed out on anything. And I saw the cigar all the way through and gave it the proper finish that it deserved. Okay, some follow-up notes. Post-smoke, my palate, like a Cuban cigar, my palate does feel very clean. I don't feel the way I typically feel after I smoke an American market cigar, where like a lot of Nicaraguan cigars, and it doesn't even have to be necessarily Nicaraguan, it's just something that I notice with American market cigars almost always, is that you will taste them in your mouth for hours after you smoke them. You will smell them on your clothes. The room in which you smoked the cigar will have a heavy aroma of tobacco for hours, and it even carries over into the next day sometimes. And it's just overall, like, even my girlfriend, who does not smoke cigars and had limited experience being exposed to cigars before she met me, she can immediately notice a difference when I'm smoking a non-Cuban cigar, because she can tell right away when she smells the smoke coming from the cigar that it is not what I usually smoke. And also, like many other individuals, she finds the aroma of Cuban tobacco more tolerable and pleasant than most non-Cuban cigars. She was out while I was smoking this cigar earlier, but she did not make any remarks to me when she came in not long after I had finished the cigar. So that right there tells me that they did use very high quality tobaccos to blend the cigar, and I have no doubt that it was some of the better aged and better selected primings used in the Atabey blend. There is no doubt that it is a high quality cigar. Is it comparable, let's say, to a Cuban Cohiba, or a high-end Monte Cristo or something like that, or a Cuban Limitada or Regional Edition? I do not believe the cigar to be at all comparable with Cuban Cohiba. If I was going to put it next to anything and say, hey, these two cigars kind of remind me of each other, the cigar that came to mind was the Partagas Serie D number 4. The deep flavors that I got from about an inch into the cigar all the way down to the last third reminded me quite a bit of some of the Partagas I've smoked. It was different in the sense that it wasn't, dead on. All the talk about, I think these guys worked out a secret deal with the Cubans, and they somehow came to an agreement to sneak Cuban leaves into the blend secretly. Okay, that didn't happen, guys. I can promise you that there is not Cuban tobacco stowed away in the blend somewhere. It's just a cigar blended in the Cuban style. It's done well. Do I think that this is a substitute for Cuban cigars? No, I don't. I think that the main market that this is aimed at is the American market cigar enthusiast who likes brands like Davidoff and high-end prestige American market cigars. And I think that this is aimed at people who think that they cannot obtain actual Cuban cigars, legitimate Cuban cigars, for their own personal consumption. And there is a large demographic of American market cigar smokers who still believe that Cubans are out of their reach, and I come across them every day when I'm lurking on forums like Cigars Daily Nation and other American market cigar-centric media and others, YouTube channels and whatnot. I'll look through the comments and see what people are saying and whatnot. And I don't just run around like being like, oh hey, you can get Cuban cigars from the internet, it's okay. I don't do that to other bloggers. I don't just come up on their shit and drop a grenade in the comments section and walk away. That's just not who I am. The people that want to learn and want to experience Cuban cigars for themselves, they will seek out that knowledge for themselves. The only time I ever reach out to people on forums or whatnot is if they are blatantly going to get themselves taken advantage of, or if they are getting taken advantage of already and they are passing on false resources to other smokers. Then I will privately say something just to stop the spread of a counterfeit source or something like that. But outside of that, I don't believe in just openly engaging in battle with people online for no reason. I got myself into a little bit of an argument with some guys on Cigars Daily Nation earlier this year because I made a post about Atabey, and not regarding the cigar itself because I hadn't even tried the cigar yet at this point. What aggravates me about cigars like Atabey is that they have an excellent cigar. They have an excellent blend. They have really cool artwork, which, as much of a ripoff of the Cohiba artwork as it is, that doesn't make it any less cool to the American cigar smoker who doesn't have any Cohibas in their collection. If you look at the Atabey logo and what they've done with the packaging, if you see the boxes, they come in these white lacquered boxes, and it has nothing on it on the top except for a chrome sort of medallion type logo of the Atabey goddess. Okay, and if you look at the clasp on the box, it's a button. It's a button like the Sir Winstons come in a box with it's almost like a Rolex box or something, where you have a button that slides to the side that unlocks the box and unlocks the hinge so you can open up the box of cigars. And that's the kind of packaging that Atabey comes in. Okay, some would argue it's even fancier than Cohiba packaging, which it is. Cohiba comes in, a Boyd Nature box that's varnished. It's a very simple design. It's the cigar speaks for itself. The two cigars should not even be really compared outside of the artwork and the obvious Taino nods that both brands provide. And even more so, Atabey is actually, if you look at a Cohiba Robusto, and we take, let's say, a cabinet of 25 Cohiba Robustos, you can actually obtain a cabinet of authentic Cohibas from legitimate sources for less money than it would cost you to purchase a 25 count package of Atabey Brujos, which would retail for between $625 and $750 USD. Okay, when I was at Matador Cigars on Long Island last week, they had 2 or 3 sizes of Atabey in stock, I picked the one most palatable to my personal preference, which was the Brujos, since it was basically a Robusto. But they had a size called the Benditos, I believe, and the retail that they were charging on that box was over $1,000. Okay, I think it was $1,047 for a box of 25 cigars, which is more expensive than Cohiba Siglo 6. That is more expensive than a box of BHK 52s. Even with some of the inflated prices at some of the higher tax countries that Habanos are available in. I mean, these Atabeys are priced as the Rolls-Royce of American market cigars, and it shows. And even more expensive, it seems, than some of the Atabey cigars. It looks like another Nelson Alfonso brand that is also rolled by Selected Tobaccos in Costa Rica, Byron, that is also distributed by United Cigar Group. That cigar, the boxes are even more expensive than the Atabeys that were for sale. And they came in some really fancy humidor-style boxes. One of them came in a ceramic jar. I happened to pick one of those up. The Petite Poemas, I guess I'm saying it right. I hope I'm saying it right. If I'm not, I apologize. It is a 4x50 ring gauge Petite Robusto. I will be smoking that soon to see what all the fuss is about. According to the internet, Byron, the tobacco is aged very well before it's rolled, and then it is aged again after it's rolled. So the tobacco is probably about 9 or 10 years old on the cigar, and the cigar was probably rolled in about 2016, maybe 2015. So the cigar should be mellowed out a little bit. Unfortunately, when you have cigars that come packed in cellophane, that reduces the aging rate by about 70% by most estimation. But I'm sure it'll be a smooth experience. Am I expecting it to be a stealth Cuban? No. Anyways, in conclusion, guys, the thing that aggravates me about these cigars is that they can be great in their own right. And I wish American cigar blenders, shop owners, the brand owners, I wish they would stop invoking the name of Cuba in every little thing that they do. And if they're going to do that, then they need to embrace Cuban cigar culture and stop fucking bashing on it every chance they get. What aggravated me about Atabey, and the reason I made that post, my apologies for going off on a tangent earlier, what aggravated me so much is that the individual who owns the company that distributes Atabey, the company that distributes Atabey, as I mentioned earlier, is United Cigar Group. Okay? And the owner of United Cigar Group is Dave Garofalo. Dave Garofalo, if you haven't heard the name before, you probably have if you're watching my channel, because you heard the name on the Dr. Joe show years ago. Okay? Just a few short years ago, Dave Garofalo was the subject of one of my favorite Dr. Joe features, which was basically a 5-part rebuttal of an article that Mr. Garofalo wrote in regards to his 6-day trip to Cuba. Okay, Dave Garofalo wrote basically a hit piece and a low-key advertisement for non-Cuban cigars when he documented his 6 days that he spent in Cuba, smoking cigars, touring factories and farms, and tasting cigars. Okay, he placed a lot of vitriol and bias, and a lot of he threw a lot of mud at the entire Cuban cigar industry in this article, and that's why it infuriates me so much to see him profiting off a cigar that relentlessly rips off on Cuban artwork and iconography and the flavor profile. You know, this cigar is doing everything in its power to emulate Cuban cigars, yet the guys who are making money off of these cigars and producing them bash on the Cuban cigar industry and Cuban cigar culture every chance that they get. That is what fucking annoys me, and there are so many American shop owners and so many American cigar blenders that do this, where it makes me really not want to buy their products ever again, okay? And there's companies that make great cigars in the U.S., and when I say in the U.S., I mean the company is made up of U.S. citizens and based in the U.S., even though their cigars are produced in Central America, okay? You have companies like Warped. You have companies like Illusione. You have companies like Room 101 and Caldwell who are making innovative boutique blends for the American market. And they are not out relentlessly bashing on Cuba. They are not out relentlessly ripping off Cuban cigar artwork and culture. They are not constantly calling their cigars Cuban-esque, because their generation understands that great cigars come from all over the world. They come from Central America. They come from Cuba. Some of the best wrapper comes from Cameroon in West Africa. You know, Mexico now with San Andres Maduro wrappers is becoming a legitimized, respected wrapper choice for premium cigars. Connecticut, USA. You know, the Connecticut Broadleaf is one of the most popular wrappers in the American market. The shade-grown Connecticut wrapper is a highly coveted treat for some of the mild to medium high-end American market cigars. Okay, if you love tobacco, if you love cigars, you don't need to just love one provenance. And if you do, if that's what hits the spot for you, if it's Cuban cigars or if it's Nicaraguan cigars or Dominican cigars, that's great, okay? The problem that the American cigar industry has more than anything else that I notice is itself, because they just cannot stop talking about the Cuban cigar industry. They cannot stop demonizing the Cuban cigar industry or Cuban cigars as a whole. I see so many outdated tropes regurgitated by American cigar blenders and then perpetuated by their blind followers, okay? I come across so many lies about Cuban cigars. The average American cigar smoker, the top 3 lies that they still believe about Cuban cigars is that A, they don't understand that half of Habanos SA is privately owned. B, they don't understand that the draw issues that plagued some of the cigars in the late 90s and early 2000s have largely been resolved, and that the quality of the construction on Cuban cigars today is substantially better than it was 20 years ago. And you are not going to necessarily buy a box of Cuban cigars today and have 10 of them be plugged, okay? We now understand that a lot of construction issues or draw issues with Cuban cigars are usually directly related to the humidity that those cigars were stored at. This is why things like dry boxing are so popular, and this is why the majority of Cuban cigar enthusiasts will store their Cuban cigars at a lower relative humidity than they would for American market cigars. All right, but generally, if you keep your humidor that contains your Cuban cigar collection, if you keep that around 65% relative humidity, you will be fine. You will rarely have a draw that is not acceptable to the point where you're going to want to toss that cigar. It's just, you know, and the amount of Cuban cigars I've smoked, you know, maybe a handful of them have been as much of a pain in the ass with the draw as what people talk about online that aren't familiar with them. And I've had just as many problems with American market cigars. Another myth that American cigar guys that aren't really knowledgeable on Cubans perpetuate that they have been taught is that, you know, Cuban cigars are rolled at a lower standard, that they all contain tobacco beetle eggs, and that they are not treated with the same care that American market cigars are. And a lot of the American cigar blenders, of course, any product that you have, you're going to say, oh, well, ours is the best, it's better than this, it's better than that. That's business in America. Okay, that's understandable. The problem is that lots of people are saying this that don't own a cigar brand, that have never tried the tobacco that they're hating on. Okay, and some people, if they don't think that they can obtain it, or they think, you know, they can't obtain it, so they're going to hate on it. They just haven't realized that they can obtain it, and that it's much more within their reach than they think it is. The other thing is even Dave Garofalo himself, who I'm not gonna sit here and spit too much venom at the man, because I do realize he has a very high stature in the American cigar industry, and I understand who he is. And some of you guys may be fans of his cigars, or some of you guys may be fans of his podcast, the Cigar Authority, or whatever. And I'm really not trying to make this a bash on Dave Fest, even though he says a lot of shit that pisses me off. He is far from the only one doing it, and it's unfair just to single him out, so to speak. It's one of those things that, being an American that is a Cuban cigar enthusiast, it's just one of those things you kind of have to let go in one ear and come out the other, because, you have Dave Garofalo in his reviews and in his podcasts. He is promoting the Atabey line of cigars relentlessly, talking about how it's his favorite cigar and how all the incredible things about the blend. But then just a few years before this, or even during the same time, because he's been promoting Atabey for a few years now, you have him in the Trip to Cuba article, you have him ripping on Cuban cigars, talking about how boring they are, and how there's no blends, that there's just, they roll with the factory, and then they decide later on what brand it's going to be, which, he perpetuated so many lies in that article, and he did it on purpose. Okay, if you haven't watched that Dr. Joe video, I promise you it's one of his best episodes. It's something I've watched over and over again, so I'm very familiar with what Mr. Garofalo said in that article, and I never forgot it because it pissed me the fuck off. Okay, so to see this guy profiting off a brand that relentlessly rips off Cuban cigars, and then talk about how great it is, and then out of the other side of his mouth talks about how bad Cuban cigars are, or yada yada yada, and that they're these inferior, outdated relics from the 20th century, and that the new wave of premium tobacco only lies within Central America. If you guys feel this way, you need to stop aping Cuban cigars and every fucking thing that they do. Okay? You need to take some cues from the youngsters and stay in your own lane and do what you're good at. Okay? Congratulations, guys. You finally lived up to the word Cuban-esque to a degree. But you know what? You guys are charging $625 for a box of 25 of these cigars, when anybody in America can order a box of Partagas Serie D number 4 for a quarter of the price, or for a third of the price, and they can have 3 boxes of Partagas Serie D number 4 come, and they can get a cigar that tastes just as rich, arguably better, and they won't need your Cuban copycat anymore. All right? Now, I'm not saying that the Atabey Brujo wasn't a great cigar. It was. But for the amount that these people are charging for a cigar like this, the irony is incredible. Believe me, I'm not lost on the irony in this situation, that these guys are bashing Cuban cigars relentlessly, yet they made a cigar that they are kind of proud to say is basically a Cuban. It's copying the format that Cuban cigars often abide, and at the same time, it is priced at a luxury cigar price. Okay, there's no doubt that these are good cigars, but again, me personally, to try it, sure, but am I going to go order a box of Atabey? I truly believe that the only people that are buying boxes of these cigars are the individuals that don't know where to get authentic Cubans, okay? And if you liked the Atabey Brujos, and you are interested in tasting more cigars like that, but perhaps better, then I would advise you to check out the Partagas Serie D number 4, the Vegas Robena Unicos or Famosos, and Partagas Shorts, Partagas Serie D number 5. Okay, and I would advise you to check out the Bolivar and Trinidad blends, the Trinidad Media Luna. Damn, guys, I am burning through a 5er of those very quickly. Every single one I've had has just been absolutely phenomenal. Definitely one of the best new Cuban cigars to come out in the last couple of years. The Media Luna is the only of the 3 new Vitolas that came out late last year. That's the only one I've tried so far. And yes, I know that the Topaz was an edition limitada in 2016. I haven't tried either the limitada or the new one yet. Honestly, I just don't see the reason to if you have Vigia already. Okay, but the difference between the Vigia and the Media Luna is apparent, and both cigars are box-worthy purchases. Okay, but I want to thank you guys for letting me air out some of these grievances that I've had with the American market cigar industry. It's just something that I can't ignore it now that it's like one of those things, like once you see it, you can't unsee it, unfortunately. And you see how petty some of these guys really are. And how, honestly, what it is fear. Okay? There's guys in the American cigar industry that are around my age that have started businesses in the time since I've become a quote-unquote cigar blogger or whatever. Since the inception of this YouTube channel, there is one individual in particular right now that I'm thinking of who was not yet involved in the cigar industry when this channel started, but today is involved with the American market cigar industry. Okay, now this individual has videos up of cigar tastings and whatnot, stuff he was like just messing around with for fun, I guess, before he was involved in the industry. And recently, and now this individual is very popular in the American market cigar community. He is running a very successful business, and I'm happy for him. I wish him all the luck in the world with that. It's funny, though, because he recently did an episode about Cuban cigars and talking about if they're worth it or not. Are they, what's the hype about these things, this, that, this. And this individual lit up a Cuban cigar on video and talked about it, and he enjoyed it, he seemed, but he also made it sound like he can get bored with it very easily, that it's, it does what it does, but that's all it does. It's not as interesting as this cigar, which is one that he happens to sell on his website. Okay, and he's talking about it and this, that, this, and he actually calls his wife into the room, and I guess his wife helps him with his business, and he basically says, honey, which one of these do you like better? And it became pretty obvious very quickly that she enjoyed the Monte Cristo number 2 better. And he kind of just glazed over it, but anybody that was paying attention kind of seen, they read her body language when she was talking about the two cigars respectively. But either way, this individual basically made a video to kind of sour the curiosity that his customers might have for Cuban cigars. But yet, if you go back in his YouTube profile before he was involved in the industry, and he was just making review videos, he had a review, I think, of a Tatuaje cigar, and he spoke in the video himself saying, it was really, it's been really tough because I've been smoking nothing but Cuban cigars for a little while now, and going back, it's hard to go back to anything else after you've been smoking Cubans. That is what this guy was saying before he was in the industry. And then all of a sudden he has a business and Cuban cigars are his competitor, and his tune has changed quite drastically. He didn't disrespect Cuban cigars on the level that I've seen from a lot of other American cigar blenders. But the fact that he even felt the need to make that video in the first place just serves to show how threatened these guys are about Cuban cigars, okay? If these things were really the inferior products that they are telling you that they are, if they were telling you that their glory days have come and gone already and that there's nothing to see over on that side, that the grass is not greener, then why are they still working so hard to keep your eyes off of them? Why are they not saying, look at what I'm doing, stop looking at them? You don't need to look at them. In fact, a confident person doesn't even need to say stop looking at them. Go ahead and look at them, but I'll be here when you come back, and you'll be back. There are cigar manufacturers that have that kind of attitude, and it's obvious. And when you smoke their cigars, it's obvious that they love what they're doing, and they know they have something special and innovative. And that, to me, shows respect for the tobacco that you're using when you create a blend. You go down to Nicaragua, you blend a cigar, you put your heart and soul into it, you put your name on the band, or you put your company's name on the band, and you're selling it, you stand behind that cigar because you know it's great, okay? The guys that are, and I'm ashamed to say, a lot of it is like they're veterans in the industry. And I'm not talking necessarily about some personal political beef where, me and my Tio had to flee Havana in 1959, and we swam on a raft to shore, and we reached the Calle Ocho, and we rolled our first tobacco leaves in our Sunday suits after church, and blah, 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 this, that, this, and they have a whole story about how, Uncle Tito was executed by the revolution, and they swore an oath to destroy the revolution, and blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of bitterness between that generation of Cubans when the revolution came to power in the late 50s and early 60s. And there was the mass exodus of Cuban citizens and foreigners that were living in Cuba at that time. And they all had a bone to pick with the Castro government. And, you can kind of tell when things move in that political direction when you're around individuals like that. But this isn't one of those situations, okay? So I apologize for rambling, guys. It is just something that has always bothered me. A lot of reasons I don't even visit most cigar lounges local to me anymore is that I had a tobacconist try to tell me with a straight face a few years ago that the Cubans are secretly having Nicaraguan tobacco imported so that they can roll the amount of cigars they need to roll. Okay, no, that didn't happen, and that's not happening. There's been a lot of odd scenarios that have come about as a result of, poverty or trying to save resources or whatever, but that was not one of them, okay? But anyways, guys, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to check this out. If you guys have any questions or any, or if you've smoked an Atabey cigar before, Let me hear your thoughts down in the comments. What are your thoughts on the Atabey cigar? What Vitola did you smoke? Did you find any similarity with any known Cuban blends? Do you think that it's worth the money? And what do you think should a smoker of Cuban cigars, do you think it's worth it for them to seek out an Atabey cigar and try it? Let me know in the comments down below, and I want to thank all you guys who have taken part in the trivia contest. Don't forget to email the answers to the questions that were asked, the 3 questions, okay? And I'll see you guys soon. Stay well and smoke well. Have a good night.